We keep things rolling here on the Sports Cubicle. I'm your host, Mike Mercado. Thank you so much for keeping us a part of your day. And this is something I think we needed to spotlight on this edition of the Sports Cubicle because Lonzo Ball has made his return to playing professional basketball, and he's doing it for the Chicago Bulls. Now, look at here. If you've been listening to us on the Sports Cubicle over the last few years, you know we've rooted for Lonzo Ball. You know we were very excited, me specifically, about the signing, and you knew how excited the Chicago Bulls were since they tampered and got punished for it. But one of the things I've been saying for the longest times over the last year and a half, 2 years, and I really believed it, was that Lonzo Ball was never going to play another game for the Chicago Bulls. I thought it was going to be one of these situations where the Bulls were going to help him rehab. I thought they were going to be in good faith and allow him to try to find a spot in the NBA. And I thought Lonzo was going to give it a try in a different organization, in a different city, and try to refresh his career. But the guy did it, and it might be a medical miracle. So why don't we break it down? This comes to us from CBS Chicago. Lonzo Ball makes long awaited return from injuries in Chicago Bulls preseason game. When the moment finally arrived, after multiple knee surgeries and one grueling rehab, Lonzo Ball raised his right arm and blew a kiss to the cheering crowd. Fans rose to their feet as the announcement echoed through the arena. Checking in for the Chicago Bulls, number 2, Lonzo Ball. It was a moment nearly 3 years in the making. Ball made his long-awaited return, scoring 10 points in 15 minutes in the Bulls' 125-123 preseason victory over the Minnesota Timberwolves on Wednesday night. The point guard also had an assist, a steal, a block in his first appearance since January 14th, 2022. Quote, "It felt a lot better playing than watching. I'll say that much," he said. "I can't even really put into words how it felt out there." Ball, who turns 27 on October 27th, underwent a cartilage and meniscus transplant in his left knee last year after several procedures failed to fix his injury. He thought he was, quote, "moving great," and the knee gave him no trouble at all. Ball got a rousing ovation when he subbed in for Josh Giddey following a timeout midway through the first quarter. It didn't take Ball long to make an impact. He nailed an open three-pointer from the left corner off a feed from driving Nikola Vucevic with 5:25 left in the period, drawing another big roar from the crowd. Quote, "Just blessed, man," Ball said. Quote, "There were a lot of people that helped me get here, not just myself. Just to see the crowd and all the love I get from the city, man, you can't replicate that in any type of way, and it's real." So, look, you check out the entire article over at CBS, and I really want to highlight first just the hard work it took from Lonzo Ball and the type of mental fortitude he must have, and still to keep into mind that he's only going to be 27 in just a couple of days. And the thing about this is it's going to be some type of medical miracle, because we're talking about him getting a transplant of his cartilage and meniscus from a cadaver. This might be something that is a modern day sports miracle. So a shout out to the entire medical staff, the surgeons, the physical therapists over at his personal doctors and the Bulls, because he looked good out there. And one of the things that, me, I'm a big dummy. And the one thing that you hear about these type of replacements is that the hardest thing to replicate isn't necessarily the muscles or any of the structural stuff. It's the lubrication that has to happen in that muscle, in those joints, that give you that are able to let you go, to get you moving. And we just, in science, that is, we haven't been able to perfect that yet, to get that to a point where we have top tier star athletes out there playing in the NBA of all things. But Lonzo Ball's out there, and he's played not just the return in his first preseason game, he played another preseason game and looked pretty good. And now it's time for real basketball. And I think Lonzo Ball, the story has changed, because it's no longer about what they could have done, how they should have performed, what the expectations were for that team when it was Levine and it was DeRozan and it was Caruso and it was Vooch and it was Lonzo. Like that time is come and gone. DeMar's somewhere else. Caruso's somewhere else. Vooch is going to be somewhere else. Zach is going to be somewhere else. This story now is of Lonzo Ball doing something that nobody has ever done before. and making a path for athletes and heck, civilians down the road to have this type of procedure and be able to do things like he's doing right now. He will never be the same player he was before. And that's okay. He'll evolve into something else. And God willing, sports God's willing, he will embrace it and he will do great things. This isn't the end for Lonzo just because he can't be the Lonzo of old, but he could be a different type of player. It will never stop him being a good three-point shooter, which he had to work at. His vision can never be taken from him. His instincts, what he brings as a player, as a person to the locker room. And now going through this journey, the story that now Lonzo Ball has. So whatever you may believe about this Bulls team, I don't think this Bulls team is going to be very good. I think they're going to play really hard. I think they're going to be in a lot of games. You know, I like a lot of pieces on this Bulls team. I'm just talking about it in whole. I don't think they're going to be a good team. You should be protecting that top 10 draft pick, should be trying to win about 25 games. And for Lonzo Ball, be a part of that, play good basketball, stay healthy. You know you're not going to play back-to-back games. So as long as you stay healthy and you contribute and you put enough out there that you could still play in the NBA, anything is possible because he's already shown that by being in this position where he's playing in the NBA game. He's playing again in a league where people like myself, big dum-dums like myself who know it all, thought he was never going to play another game, at least for the Chicago Bulls. Not only did he do it, he looked good. And he looked like an NBA player again. And it makes you sad for what was for him and the excitement that that Bulls team had when he came in. And they were the best team in the Eastern Conference. And the wheels just fell off, specifically his. And we've seen that here in Chicago plenty of times. But I think we are all rooting for this redemption. And it's not a redemption for anything bad. It's the redemption of coming back from injury, from the naysayers, from people like myself towards Lonzo Ball from this injury to come back and do awesome things. I think it's more than possible that he lands on a roster over the next 5, 6, 7 years and wins an NBA title. Can you not visualize it right now? Can you not see the storylines? I think it's great for the NBA. I think it's great for the Bulls in a season that might be frustrating, that will not be filled with a lot of wins, that you might not be able to watch a lot of games because you don't have the CHSN. This is a story that you can root for and that you could be happy for. You'd be optimistic for. Lonzo Ball and the doctors, the surgeons, the physical therapists, everybody involved did a lot of work and had to go through a lot to get to this point right now. And Bulls fans went through a lot of frustrations, a lot of mystery. And it all is coming to a place now where it's going to mean something when he plays a real NBA regular season basketball again. It's been wonderful to see him do it in the preseason, but when he plays a real official game in just a few days, what a great story. The story in itself is complete. Now a new story will begin for Lonzo Ball. But shout out to him and everybody involved, because you know how there's like the Tommy John surgery? This might become the Lonzo Ball surgery if this succeeds, and already it kind of has. So it will only evolve in the medical field and how people then recover from it and then how they play after it. This is just the beginning. And this is some of the cool stuff that we get to live through, right? Like all the craziness in the world, and you know, people always trying to discredit things like this, like medical miracles, medical science moving forward. And we get to see it in some of the premier athletes that we have and that we get to watch every single day. I think this is pretty cool. So shout out to Lonzo Ball. Shout out to everybody in this situation. This is a good story. No matter what happens, no matter how it ends, no matter how many wins, no matter how many points, this is a great story. And this is a great ending. And it will come all together the first home game, the first game period that Lonzo Ball plays in the regular season, this coming up NBA season. But we want to know your thoughts. Lonzo Ball back in the Chicago Bulls roster. He is playing and he proved a lot of us wrong. How do you feel about that? How happy are you for Lonzo Ball? We're on Twitter at Sports Cubicle TV. Make sure you're following us wherever you get your favorite podcast, over at WCPT 820's podcast at SoundCloud. Of course, just search us over at Sports from the Couch or check out the YouTube channel at The Sports Cubicle. Thank you for all the support over at Bear Era. We are soaring. If you're looking for some great Bears content, check it out. It's EJ Snyder, it's Kieran Hall, it's myself, Bear Era on YouTube at Bear Era Podcast. Thank you for the support over at Lucha Dog. And shout out to Paul, Devin, and Marver for having some great work over the last few weeks. They are bringing you the fire as we are getting to the holiday season. It is a jam-packed show on this edition of the Sports Cubicle. I'm your host, Mike Mercado.